Okay, thank you for joining this Fire Circle number 2. We are very excited to have you today. And in fact, we were blown away by the feedback we received and also the messages we received, emails we received after our first session. We are very happy that it created value, and please keep us updated. We love to get to know your feedback so that we can bring the community education even in an elevated informational manner. Right, so I would like to welcome all of you, and then I would like to also introduce you to the Evolving Temple team today. So please give me a minute. So this is psychedelic storytelling um, in healing and mind development, focusing on education, reflection, and harm reduction. And the reason why we do this is that we recognize that around the world, the psychedelic therapies, the healing and mind development through altered states of consciousness is becoming more accessible to many individuals. So we believe that as a leader in this space, it is our responsibility to bring knowledge to our community so that we all can benefit from um, this miracle possibility of healing and mind development through altered states of consciousness, integrating psychedelic intervention. So if you are watching this video, this is your first time to watch, I invite you to check out Fire Circle 001 because we are not repeating any of the information that we have shared earlier. This is a series of education sessions. So if you are watching us online, we invite you to check out 001 as well. Right, so as we begin, I am Fernando Hetiadra from Evolving Temple, the creator of Evolving Temple. And we also have Jessica and Lux from Evolving Temple, who are first generation psychedelic interventionists, in other words, practitioners of altered states of consciousness integrating psychedelic intervention, right? So let's invite Jess and Lux to briefly introduce yourself before we begin this conversation. Jess, would you like to go first?
Sure, yeah. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So lovely to be here and to be sharing on this journey with everybody who's here and everybody who's watching and will watch. So thank you. My name is Jessica Teal. I am I am many things, and one of the things that I am today and always is somebody who cares deeply about mind development. And I guess I would like to say that what drew me to my journey on the psychedelic pathway was I took my first dose at a very young age, and it really, at a perfect age, not too young, it really, at a pivotal time in my life, allowed me to become more comfortable with who I was and accept the things around me. And I just knew that from there, I needed to know more. I wanted some more, experiences and more learning. And all of those beautiful moments in my life have brought me here today. So thank you. Nice to meet you. And I look forward to sharing more with everyone.
Thank you, Jess. Lux, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Fernando. Yes, hi, everyone. My name is Lux Hetiadra. I am also Fernando's sister, and so I'm going to be speaking later, so I'm going to keep it brief. What led me here to share this space with all of you is that my own healing journey, the having experienced that power of this medicine myself, I would say very safely, I was use the word I got obsessed with this because it's so powerful. So then I decided that this is what I want to do with the rest of my life, and so I'm here, and I will share my story in a little bit.
Thank you, Lux. We also have Shafia and Ankush joining us online today. Would love to hear a little bit about you. What inspired you to be here? Shafia, over to you.
Hi. So what inspired me to be here is because I moved to Thailand recently. So and my husband is quite interested in, and he knows quite a bit about psychedelics. So I think like it's quite new for me having just moved to Thailand. I actually came from Singapore, so there's no psychedelics there. So I mean I've heard a lot of things like about how it can really change you, like help you release fear, help you come to realizations and things like that. So I'm just like interested to find out as much as I can about it.
Excellent. Thank you for joining. Shafia, I know that you also have a medical background based on our previous conversations. So I'm even happy and really honored to have you here, someone from the medical background, so that we also create validation to what we are talking about. Thank you for being here, Shafia. And let's hear from Ankush a little bit as well. Hi, Ankush. How are you
Well,
today?
hey, I'm good. I'm good. Hey guys, saying hi through the camera. Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, to answer your question, why am I here? Yeah, it's all about for me. I want to just like not I wouldn't say the word achieve, but I've always had this vision in my mind that there's a higher calling for me, and I have always seen that there's a silhouette somewhere there, and like a Pokemon, I see myself as a Pokemon, and I'm continuously evolving, and I want to evolve to that person, like not attached, and like just like a higher being. So to me, that is the journey that I want to embark on, and I think psychedelics is a way. As you said, Fernando, in the last session, like it's a crash course, right? So I really want to take that crash course, and yeah, and hopefully, attain the form that I've always wanted to take.
Thank you, Ankush. We appreciate you being here. Indeed, during our last conversation, we found out one of my favorite scientists, Roland Griffith, says that when we think of the investigation of the mind, if meditation is the best way to do that, psychedelics is a crash course. He actually mentioned psilocybin, the magic mushroom, is a crash course. So I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to this conversation. And today we have a very interesting session ahead of you. So since Shafia briefly mentioned about legalities around psychedelics, as you know that there are certain countries that psychedelics are legalized. And there are certain countries it's not. So we would like to point out that our psychedelic interventions only take place in countries where the psychedelics are fully legal. For an example, we intervene, we apply psychedelics in Austria, Netherlands, and Nepal mostly. And also we provide these services in other places where it is legal by request. These three locations are our main locations. And most of our preparation work and integration work, which do not include the ingestion or intake of psilocybin, take place either in person in Bangkok. Also, most of our programs are operated globally, so that we also offer our programs online. However, for the application, in other words, psychedelic ceremony, we only conduct our application process in countries that it is legal. I think it's important that we all understand the legalities behind, and I also invite all of you to do the due diligence before you begin this journey in terms of legalities. Right. So I would also like to point out at this moment that when we say that we provide the psychedelic application or the ceremony, that's truly the catalyst. However, the preparation process and the integration process are the most important thing. And this is where we call intervene. In other words, we use the psychedelic plant medicine as a catalyst. However, we bring the preparation protocol and integration protocol as the intervene, which truly creates the development for individuals. That's why you may have heard many people say, I have tried psychedelics, even stronger dosages. However, I did not receive any insightful experiences. This may be because the set and setting was not appropriate, or the preparation process was not appropriate, or it could also be that not only appropriate, maybe there was no preparation process, then of course the value may be not as magnified as it's possible, and also the integration process is absolutely important as well. So that's where the development comes to people. Right. So moving forward, I would like to share with you that today we will have Lux and Jessica having a conversation. So Lux is the girl who had a hole in her heart, and she's here to share with her developmental journey today. And also, I would like to quickly share with you the agenda for this session today. So we will hear Luke's story, and then I will also share with you a little bit of reintroducing mind as an inverted disco ball. The idea, inverted disco ball idea is Jess, so I would like to give you a shout out. And then we will create a little reflection, is transcendent love for real? Right, so let me dive in directly into the mind reintroduce part. Now, why do we introduce mind once again? Because I feel as human beings, even from the scientific perspective, sometimes I feel that we do not fully understand our mind for what it is, or we need to comprehend it in a way that it truly makes sense to us in a way that we can develop. Now, when you look at this image, obviously you see a representation of our brain and then some of the representation of our neurons. Now, when we talk about mind, of course, showing a picture of brain is not accurate to begin with. However, when we talk about mind, most of the time we picture brain in our mind, right? So when we talk about our mind, how does our mind work? Now, if you look at how does our brain biologically work, or how we understand it from a science perspective, we know that our brain matter consists of neurons. And do you know how many neurons we have in our brain? Do you know that until a few years ago, no one actually, people keep saying we have 100 billion neurons. But recently, one of the scientists truly counted and found out that we have about 80 billion neurons in our brain matter, right? So there are neurons, and we know that neurons act as agents of impulses, the electrical pulses, and that's what creates our awareness, our ability to remember, our ability to function, and all of that. And we also know our brain has different components like the reptilian complex, limbic system, neocortex, and all of that. So I'll try to keep this discussion as easy to understand as possible. And give me a sec. I would like to, okay, right. So we have this understanding that our brain has neurons and they communicate with each other. Now, if we try to look at mind development and healing and look at this way of brain functioning, I believe that it doesn't provide us the opportunity to truly understand our mind. So today, I would like to invite you to this, the mind mirror. I would like to invite you to look at mind like a mirror. So that's the story that I would like to share with you during this psychedelic storytelling session today. Now, when we say our mind mirror, I would like to introduce you to in a little bit of an elaborated manner. What do I mean by that? All of you have seen a disco ball. Now, this is how a disco ball looks like from outside. Thanks, Jess, for the beautiful thought. How about we look at the disco ball inside? What if we go inside the disco ball and look, what would the structure look like? I guess something like this. And then if we bring in all the mirror pieces inside of the disco ball, how would it look like? This is partially, I invite you to think about yourself being inside of the disco ball and look around of it. Probably you will have a vision like this if the mirror pieces are also put together into the disco ball, right? So I invite you to think about our mind a bit like an inverted disco ball, inside of it full of little mirror pieces pasted together so the light can reflect from each other. So to explain it a little bit more, let me share with you this diagram. So the disco ball looks like this, and if we take a cross section of it to illustrate, we see this kind of a polygon. Right? So inside of this polygon, I invite you to think each of these ball as a mirror which can reflect light. However, since we are talking about our mind, I invite you to think about inside of our mind through this disco ball, our thoughts, our emotions, sensations, and everything that happens in our mind being reflected. Now, when I say this, I believe that you can actually resonate with this. Now, an idea occurs to you and starts bouncing in your mind, bouncing in your mind, and bouncing in your mind, right? And sometimes it remains with us for a minute, an hour, a day, a month, a week, right? It depends on what is going on now in our head. It keeps bouncing, keep bouncing. Now, for us to look a little bit deeper into this possibility, I would like to tell you a story. So in this story, we have Jasmine and then we have Sunny. So Jasmine has rented her house, one of her houses, to Sunny. Now, Jasmine wake up one morning and she has to take the house back as the contract ends from Sunny. And in the morning, she has taken a couple of breaths. And Jasmine thinks, I have these good feelings. I have potential solutions. When I go to meet Sunny, I'm going to have a wonderful, loving conversation and let him know that I would be needing the house at the end of the contract period, which is a very normal situation that can happen to any of us, right? So then let's look at what happens in our inverted disco ball or our mind mirror. Now, inside of this mind mirror, she has good feelings, right? So she's feeling very good in the morning, having a cup of coffee, loving thoughts towards Sunny, so that she feels great. So the thoughts that come into the mind mirror goes reflecting in a beautiful way. So it bounces in the morning, early in the morning, her mind. And then what happens? She says, okay, I need to go meet. She has an appointment with Sunny in a couple of hours. So she gets into her car and she starts driving towards a mall that they agree to meet, right? And when they're doing this, she's on the way and she realizes on the way that she's starting to feel a little bit hungry. As she started to feel hungry, she started to say, oh my God, it's very long, still have to go 2 hours. I'm driving, I'm hungry, mountain ranges, no food to be found. And she's starting to feel a little bit, when you're hungry, we start to feel a little bit frustrated, right? We all have been there, right? The anger and hunger go very close together, as you may have noticed. Then what happens? So her body, now I want to bring in the body into the mind, to the context of the mind mirror. So the body mostly have outer senses, which is represented here. But at this particular instance, we are not just talking about an outer sensory, but we're talking about an inner set of sensory, which is our digestive system, right? So our stomach is telling us, I am hungry, I am hungry, I am hungry. When that happens, we all of a sudden have a new ray of thoughts coming into our head. And what happens in our inverted mind mirror? Now, this new thought starts bouncing back. Earlier, she had a specific feeling. Now she has a new thought. Now this is starting to bounce inside, right? So when that is going on, the earlier feeling might be either elevated or it might die down or it might change into something. Now, these two interesting thoughts and the feelings coming in kind of create a mixture together. And then it starts to now bounce within our mind mirror. And then what happens? So she comes, she parks her car, and now she has a little bit of the dark clouds on top of her head because she's hungry, right? She's a little bit frustrated. And then as she was about to walk to mall and meet Sunny, all of a sudden, Sheila comes across her. Who is Sheila? Sheila has a bit of conflict with Jasmine. So all of a sudden, when Jasmine is with Jasmine meets Sheila, Sheila starts to say something to Jasmine, which is not very pleasant. And then Jasmine has a reaction, right? So to the sensory, we have a emotion being created, and that emotion hits our brain, right? So the feelings and the thoughts are created. Now her state of mind is a little bit of frustration because she was hungry. And then when Sheila is opposing to what is going on because of the conflict that they have had earlier, her memories come in, her thoughts involved. Now all of a sudden, the energy of Jasmine start to change from her earlier state of mind. In the morning, her state of mind was different, and now her state of mind is different. All of a sudden, she has a different way of her mind mirror now working inside of her head. What happens next? And as a result, she's also getting late a little bit. She's 45 minutes late through the journey, having had to talk to Sheila as well. So by the time she reaches the mall and meets Sunny, Sunny is frustrated because Sunny also has a lot of things to do that day, and Sheila is late 45 minutes, and that's the first thing he says, you are late. And Sheila, of course, came from that conflictive mind mirror now that is going on in her head. All of a sudden, she also elevates her emotion, and then she also starts to feel frustration, and she also starts to use that frustration reflect onto Sunny. Now, when what happens? The thought also now send in a new ray of possibility into the mind mirror. Now it starts going around, right? It starts reflecting from it, going on, and going on. And it doesn't end here. She remembers memory. Oh, you told me that, you told me this. Now even that comes in. And then what happens in our mind mirror? Goes on and goes on and goes on and goes on, right? And now we understand that this is not just only one way. It's not just only mind mirror accept things from our body, our thoughts, our memory, our body, our feelings, our sensory, our internal sensory, our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind, our genetics, our epigenetics, all that different components of the brains. So all that all of a sudden, or always, is inside of our mind mirror processing and bouncing around. And that's how our mind truly works, if you noticed. May I invite you to think about it a little bit? Think about the last time you were frustrated, or maybe you were a little bit angry. Let me invite you to think about expecting an email that might have something contradicting with your emotion, right? You know that you're going to receive that email in a day or two. How is the feeling? What is happening in your head? And then when the you receive the email, you see that it's something not very comfortable, right? And then what happens? So our mind mirror goes on and on and on, right? Sometimes it goes on for an hour, a day, two. Sometimes it can go on for a very long time, right? So we also know that this is both ways. Thoughts are insert into our mind, and based on what is happening in our mind, thoughts are created. So it's a both way, because that's a mirror. That's why we call it a mirror, right? Both ways it works. Feelings come in, create our mental states. And then also, depending on our mental states, we create new emotions, new feelings. Same with us, right? We have memories that trigger something to happen in our mind. And on the other way around, based on what is happening in our mind, we create memories, right? Some of these can even be traumatic, for an example. Then if it is traumatic, then it not only sends a memory to your memory, but also it sends another signal to your body. It could be possible. So your body, your memory, your thoughts, your feelings, all of it store that the traumatic experience, for an example, right? So based on how our mind works, all of this bouncing happens. So from mind to, I think it's wrong for me to keep doing this all the time around here, because mind doesn't necessarily need to be just in the head, right? Those who are studying mind, you know that mind exists in beautiful ways. Right, so since I can't explain the beautiful ways in science, I'm going to leave it there and then bring your attention back here. Right, so we know now, based on memory, body, thoughts, feelings, and array of lot of other things, bring stuff into our mind. So to keep this conversation and storytelling simple, I just put only 4 components here, but you see, just with 4 components, it is already a bit complicated. And then I invite you to think, when you have something like that in your mind mirror, how long does that go on? Let me invite you to think about the last conflict you had. Let me invite you to think about the last anxiety or depression you had. How long did it go on? Is there anything right now going on in your mind, in your mind mirror? Well, this doesn't necessarily need to have a negative connotation. It could also be in positive connotation. It could be also something that we really love. For an example, addiction, right? Addiction. Our body, our memory, our thoughts, our feelings, they are all incorporated in dependencies, right? So that it's perceived as something positive. So it goes into our head, goes on, and then we almost become obsessed with it. And what is even more interesting is our mind mirror walls can make strong marks if it is repeated over and over and over and over again, right? And we know that when a traumatic event happens to us over and over and over again, it creates a mental scar in us. That's what sometimes we call trauma, even anxiety or depression, for an example. Right? So you see, if we start to see our mind mirror, our mind as a mirror that reflect inside, we start to all of a sudden realize that the power of our mind, and sometimes it's so powerful that we are even unaware what is going on in our mind mirror. So this is a fresh idea that Evolving Temple I myself created, and I'm very happy and proud to share this idea with you. And then, of course, one of the possibilities is to cut off these things that come into our mind mirror and things that come out of our mind mirror. And that help us to create a certain specific amount of state of mind that we would like to maintain. Now, when we meditate, when we become more aware, right, when we do certain practices to become more aware, this is what we do. We observe the mental qualities. And that's what Vipassana is for. If you watch 001 Fire Circle, you already know that we use Vipassana, which is the Buddhist meditation practice, as a way of recognizing who we are, observing who we are, that enables us to quieten our mind, silence our mind. That's what we do in a way, so that the more it becomes silent, the more we can observe. If our mind is silent, then we are able to feed it with thoughts, emotions, feelings, memories that are constructive for our development, that are constructive for our healing. Oh, that was a very, very beautiful, what do you call it? Lightning. Right. So great. Now, come to think of this, right? Come to think of this mind mirror. The scissors that I have put here is just only one intervention of cleansing our mind or silencing our mind. There are so many things that we can do with in this space. So this is a very, very simple concept that I would like to introduce to you, which can be blown up into a very great capacity of science, as well as understanding it at a deeper level, incorporating Vipassana. Now, as I always mention, there are no religious contexts to this. But may I introduce you to open your mind a little bit and hear something one of the religions say. They say, create space for the Holy Spirit to come in. Interesting, isn't it? If we have a mind mirror, if things are going on inside of it, we occupy our mind all the time. So I don't know what this Holy Spirit is, but I could say positive thoughts, healing thoughts, developmental thoughts can come into our mind mirror. And as we observe our mind being observed, so that we recognize what is going on in our mind. Maybe we can silence our mind to bring in developmental thoughts and healing thoughts. Right. So this point, I would like to invite Luke and Jess, keeping in mind this mind mirror idea with all of you who are here. Let's take it as our learning component today and keep it in our mind. And then we will hear Luke's story. And Jess is going to be the catalyst of this conversation. So I invite you, Jess, over to you.
Thank you so much, Fernando. I'm very excited to listen to your story today, Lux. So let's get started. Are you ready?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jess. Yes,
Okay.
I'm very excited, and thank you for great to be here sharing my story.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions and we'll go along with the story. And everybody, I highly encourage the idea of mindful listening at this moment. All right, Lux. So would you be able to share with us who you were before your experience with psychedelics?
What a question, Jess. Who I was before my psychedelic experience. I think to answer this question, I have to go back in time to all the way to my childhood. I had a very interesting childhood growing up. And on top of that, I also struggled with social anxiety, even as a very tiny kid. So as you can imagine, studying, school, it was all very difficult. And then my first attempt to commit suicide was at the age of 16. I decided at that age I had enough. It's time to go. I just did not think twice, And so that's when I was diagnosed with clinical depression. And that's when I also started my medication, antidepressants. So I have been on that for a very, very long time. And then as I started that journey there, as you can imagine, I'm, coming into my adulthood and all that, and a lot of pressure. And every day felt so heavy and difficult to just live like that. So along the journey, just to fast forward, I don't want to share every nitty-gritty detail, but along the journey, fast forwarding it, I have tried 4 times to end my life, like literally taking pills and things like that, and just end it because it felt so dark all the time. Like you wake up every morning. Now, Fernando was talking about the mind mirror, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is how my mind used to be. And Fernando just only shared very little bit, and I thought like it magnified, and that's how I felt. And on top of that, I felt like I had this hole in my heart all the time, and it would never go away. I would get into relationships, I would do this, I would do that, but that hole in my heart would never go away. And I remember this hole ever since I remember my life. And so if you really ask, I did certain things, I did achieve certain things, but I felt like every day I would wake up and I feel like, what's the point? Just another day, what's the point? So it's almost like I felt like I was sinking in an ocean, bottomless, and there is no way out. So yeah, that's my life before this experience, mostly.
Thank you so much, Lex, for sharing that part of who you were, which is a part of you still because you experienced it, right? But now you're here in this version. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How did you feel before using plant medicine, psychedelics? How did you feel about it before you actually did it? Did you feel that there was a healing and learning that came from it, or what was the meaning of it for you to do this?
I think just I was in a very lucky position because I think most of people who watch this, if you know, Fernando is my brother and my best friend, the light of my life. That's one part, but also he is my therapist. And so when you said like, what was my feeling about? Yeah, I saw that too.
Oh my
He was
goodness.
here too.
Sorry, guys, that was
Yeah.
a big one. Wow.
The sky is having a party today. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel I was lucky because I have seen Fernando as a therapist, as a coach, and also my therapist. And so I have seen him using this plant medicine and with his clients, and how the development's been created. So if you ask me how I felt about the medicine and the power, I was confident. I was excited. Of course, there was a little bit because of the unknown, but I was very confident, and yeah, I think I was exposed in the right way.
Amazing. It's you're so blessed to have such a close understanding of psychedelics and plant medicine. And how beautiful it is to be able to experience that with people around you that you care about also. I think that's just so wonderful. So far, just from listening to you, I feel that there's this very loving space that was created for your experiences. So we can see that in the process of using plant medicine and learning about it, that's actually such a beautiful opportunity within this space, because it is a journey and nobody should have to do it alone. So
absolutely. Just very quickly, just to add to briefly to what you said, like when I said I often tell Fernando that I dedicate my healing journey to him, not as my brother, but as the therapist, because I mean, it's one thing to know the power, but then it's another thing to experience it in this way. And when I say I dedicate this to Fernando, what I really mean is that taking the plant medicine is one thing, but also I started already realizing, creating a lot of self-awareness through the preparation part. That journey was so helpful. So yeah, I think I was very blessed at that point.
Thank you. So after you had learned about plant medicine, after you had done the preparation and understood the process, then it's time for a ceremony, right? It's time to try psilocybin for your first time. Can you tell us about your first psychedelic intervention experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, the most significant experience of my life, and I feel like that was the rebirth of me. That's how I felt, and that was over a year ago. And I have come so far, feel like so fast that journey has been. But my first experience, so I went through the preparation session for a while, and then once I was ready, it's also like, you know, how they say when the student is ready, teacher appears. That's kind of how it happened to me. And so my first experience was um, when I was under the power of medicine. I felt a deep sense of peace that I have never ever experienced in my life, and it's not something that words can explain. And um, and a lot of things made sense, and I had this clarity that I did not know. Oh wow, what just happened? That was my reaction. So
Thank you. I would love to hear a little bit more about the experience, in the sense of, when did you first start to really see the long-term impact of your psychedelic intervention experience? So meaning, when was that moment where you suddenly were, like, completely aware that your psychedelic experience brought you to that moment? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
absolutely, I love this part of my own story, because remember I said that I had this hole in my heart all the time. It doesn't matter what I would do, it just won't go away. And one of the things I did not mention earlier, just when you said about who I was before, and I was someone who used to live in fear of not being loved. And that was the worst thing that could happen to me. That's how it was for me. So something that a truth that I did not feel loved at all, except from Fernando. I did not feel, I felt loving towards other people, but I never felt I received love. There was this emptiness in me. So my intention, the truth I was seeking was, what is this unconditional love everyone is talking about? What is love? Why don't I feel it? Where can I find it? This is what was going in my mind. This is what I've been working through. So when I was in the experience, I had this feeling that I felt, to say the best way to put it to words, is to feel the entire universe in your heart. And it's not even like it's not exactly to put into words, but that's how I felt. And then when I come out of it, and then through the integration process, I realized, oh my God, this hole is not a hole, it's a portal. It's the portal that I have everything in there, that everything I'm externally looking for is inside me, and I just have to look it there, find it there. And I had this realization, Jess, I'm not joking, I had to scream a little bit when I realized, oh, I can never lose myself. I can never lose myself. That's how I felt. And that that conviction that I can never lose myself again, and that confidence, it confirmed that this hole I felt was actually a portal, and there is so much love. And that's how I felt. There is so much love I felt. So to be specific to your question, how did it how did I start realizing that my life is changing? The hole was gone. I felt truly deeply complete for the first time in my life, and I did not feel that emptiness anymore, because I knew that I now have myself. So how did this practically I understood that I'm changing? Um, one one of the very first thing that changed my life in my life is my weight loss journey. That I am someone who I have tried to uh, several different things to lose weight. That was long time ago, and but since since I went through the medicine and came out of it, I have lost 22 kilograms. 22 kilograms. And sometimes I look at myself, what happened to you? How did you get here? Because I'm telling you, it was so effortless. It was so effortless. I did not go under any crazy diets or uh, take any pills, nothing. Also did not work out. I like working out now. And at the time, I hated going to the gym. I mean, I could say, use the word, say, uh, not hate, but I did not like going to the gym, right? That I was that kind of person. So I lost that weight, and I don't know how it happened. It's just I realized that what changed when people ask, what do you do to get to this weight? All I'm saying is I just eat only as much as my body needs now. It's like I kind of feel that, okay, now it's enough. So I stop eating, and I eat only when I'm hungry. So subtle changes like that, and then boom. So that's one area just I can highlight. And then also about finding this love that I was looking for, how it really impacted my life, is that when I found out that I can't lose myself, I realized I have been living in fear most of the time, afraid of that people will not love me. So I now see that what a people pleaser I used to be. And I now consciously identify this behavior, and now I'm like, no, serious, please. I'm not taking this, because I know what is right for me now. And I also know how to stay in my own energy. So how did this impact my life in a positive way? Now that I have found out I can't lose myself, and I don't have to be afraid of anything. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes those fearful thoughts show up, but now I know, yeah, it's okay, but I'm going to do this anyway, because I have decided I'm going to move mountain for myself. I am going to give the love I deserve. And so the way I approach life, the way I show up to my work, the way I show up to my relationships, they all have changed. I have less friends, but they are the best friendships that anyone can ever wish for.
So beautiful, Lex. I want to say something about your story so far, especially the last part that you just shared of your weight loss journey. Also, it's almost as if your body, the psilocybin and psychedelic and plant medicine. I'm going to say plant medicine from now on. It helped you to like make space for your body and mind to speak for itself, right? Yes. Your body already knew how much you needed to eat. We only overeat or undereat usually when it comes to emotional matters and stress or indulgence, right? So the plant medicine really just allows us the space to accept who we are, to love ourselves, and to love others a little bit more. I always say that, when I take my plant medicine, it's like a journey, right? You go on a journey, you come back, you're like an explorer, you learn something, your body learns something, and then you carry that wisdom with you all the time. And it really takes care of you. It really truly takes care of you. Just as your body and your mind and your self knew that, okay, we need to take care of Lux. So she only needs to eat this much, and we're going to make her happy and make her feel good. It's so beautiful.
Just sorry, it's when you said it, I feel like my entire being came together, and let's just become best friends. Let's just become best buddies. Let's just support each other. Let's love each other. And that's how I feel like every cell of my body have become best friends.
Yeah, amazing. That's an amazing way to put it. Thank you. I have one or two more questions, and I really am so curious for this answer. Now that you're here in this space and you have had your journey so far with psychedelics and the work that involves this, it's not only about the ceremony, it's about the preparation, building up yourself, your mind, your body to understand what can happen to you, what you might experience. And then you go through the integration process also that can look many different ways for many different people, but it's a conscious, mindful application of the things that your body and mind learn during your ceremony, right? So now that you're here, what would be something that you would tell the version of yourself before having any psychedelic intervention in your life?
Oh, I have so much love for myself. That self. I would say thank you. Thank you for keep trying, and also thank you for being open-minded and being willing to experience something so powerful, because I'm thinking it was a decision that I made to take that medicine, because I took that decision to take that medicine, I'm here today. But I could also have made a different decision a year and a half ago not to take that medicine, and today be in a completely different situation. So that open-mindedness I had led me here. So I am so thankful. If I'm thanking myself, my older self, for anything apart from being through all that, being so courageous, I'm also thanking her for being open-minded to something that seemingly unknown, but something so powerful.
Like giving that version of yourself a hug, right? That's what it must feel like. Yes. I think I want to say thank you once again for sharing, Lux, and a couple of comments also. Plant medicine is so powerful, right? It is so powerful in the sense that it brings you to this almost like walking on the clouds feeling. And I'm not talking about the ceremony itself. I'm talking about the impact of it. I've been using the word lately, untouchable, right? I really, truly feel that we can achieve this level of being untouchable, that nothing is that difficult, that serious, that hard. I mean, we can perceive it that way, sure, and many people do, and that's totally okay as well. But we're talking about something that you ingest that it's not harmful to you. I mean, we ingest all kinds of things, all every day, all day, right? Many people do all kinds of foods and air qualities and, alcoholic beverages, for example. So we're talking about a medicine that can take away all of that fear and that worry. And, we are going to have the fear, we are going to have the worry, but I think what psychedelics really do is equip you with the ways to use those things as signals, as triggers, right? You are basically not controlling, but you are the puppet master of your own life, really, really, truly. And that is just so, so amazing. For me, I look at it as a superpower that I can say, wow, okay. Or like, for example, you, Lex, like, okay, I'm feeling sad today, but how can I use this sadness? Right? So you are immediately leveling up your ability to master your own mind, right? It is every day. It's been 18 years since my first dosage of psilocybin, and every single day I'm always reminded about how strong the impact is, and beautiful and positive ways. One last question for you, Lux. What would there be anything that you'd like to share? One last thought about the impact of plant medicine for anybody who might be curious to explore this as a healing and development option in their life.
Yeah, I think what I can say about the plant medicine, it is the medicine. It is the medicine that anyone can, anyone should experience. And also, I believe that we are all one way or the other traumatized, and we all have a healing journey to go. And for many of us, things have happened to us in the past, but we don't have to live in a life imprisonment of just because what happened to us in the past. And we also don't have to live in this pain over and over. We don't have to wake up to just survive and feel this pain and just waiting until that it's dark time so that we can go to bed and sleep and distract ourselves. We don't have to live a life like that. It's possible to wake up and feel good just because it feels good. It's okay to feel good, and it's possible to love just because you feel love. And there is a world, there is so much more to our stories, and we don't have to get stuck. So what if I'm to say, if this is the last thing I would say to anyone, I would say, if you have an opportunity to experience the power of this medicine, this healing journey, do it. Just do it. Yeah. And lots of love.
Thank you so much, Lex, for sharing your story and your thoughts on plant medicine. I can safely say that whoever works with you as a practitioner, you will bring so much love and so much care into everybody's experiences in their sessions, and it's just a very beautiful space to be coming from. I can always see the glow. Always the glow is there. So thank you very much, Lex, once again. And Fernando, I'd pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you, Jess, for all the questions and giving me this space to speak and to share my story. So yeah, lots of love and light to all of you.
Thank you, Lux. Thank you, Jess, for this great conversation and also sharing your vulnerability as well as inspiration. Thank you very much. Right, so let's continue our conversation further, and I'm going to use Lux's story to bring a bit more awareness before we end this session with a little reflection. So what I would like to share with you is that when Lux is talking about specifically her eating habits and a specific weight that she found herself losing and then reaching her ideal weight. Let's look at the situation a little bit to understand what is happening in this space, especially when you use psychedelics. How does that impact something so obvious, something that is so visible like weight loss? However, I would like to remind all of you again that last week when we were talking about what is truly the ultimate possibility of psychedelics, well, I'm not sure if I even know that, to be very frank with you, but I know for sure that we are able to get to the Shangri-La of state of being. I invite you to think about what is your best state of being, best state of your mind, right? And if we think of this universe, this 3D world that we are in, it's true that we have a body. It's true that we feel a linear momentum of time. If you truly come to think of it through the linear momentum of time, through the physical body that we have that seems like aging, right? We are born small and then we grow. Our body literally grows over time. Now, when that process happens, if you really notice, what you are really is your awareness, right? At some point as a child, you open your eyes and you become aware that this exists, this is possible, you are possible. And then we forget, we just get stuck with everything that is going around us, and then we fill our mind mirror with a lot of things that is happening around us. But if we really stop for a second, if we really thought for a second, we start to realize we truly are just awareness. And what is really beautiful is that having a body of this caliber, of this potential, and being able to experience linear time allows us to become aware for a specific period of time. In other words, most people are aware for, let's say, 65 years, 70 years, 100 years, depending on where you're from, right? Your lifespan. So we truly are an awareness. So I invite all of you to reflect on that. Now, with that, if we have a body, if we feel a momentum in time where we interact with everyone else, so then obviously we involve with other people's emotions, what is going on with them. And that is one thing. What happens to us from external sources, external stimuli, right? When some traumatic experience that was induced to us on outside world, we tend to store it in our body. We tend to store it in our mind because why? We are hardwired to survive. In other words, to be optimum all the time, in our optimum being. That's what human beings are about, right? That's about all beings. Right now, when we talk about that, it goes even deeper. Now, that is an external stimuli, external trauma that stays with your body. How about genetics? How about ancestral traumas? Let's say when someone has an ancestor who had been hurt very badly physically and mentally, let's say few lifetimes before even, what our ancestors do is we store that information in our bodies so that we can pass it on to our new generations. Because the body intelligent processes it like, if I can store this information through genetics and pass it on to my next generation, when that kind of incident happens, potentially my offsprings will be able to protect themselves better. So you see, it's almost like even storing trauma in our body is almost like storing love in our body, because it's truly not about passing on trauma. Let's say a great grandmother, let's say, who was brutally raped. We need to talk about the realities of this world, right? So that person tend to hold on to that trauma and store that at a genetic level, and then pass it on to the next generations. And then as a result, sometimes you find certain generations, let's say this new, her granddaughter is unable to maintain relationships with opposite gender. There's a fear that is created in her when she interacts with someone else, right? And the interesting thing is, this person might even not know this, the girl might not even know where this whole way of believe process came from sometimes, right? So when we go through a psychedelic journey, it resets things in us, what is in our mind, and at a deeper level, so that we are able to reset things in a way that we are able to have a second chance almost, right? So if you look at keeping that in mind, Lux's story a little bit more, I would like to bring your attention to what one of the things Lux told me while we were going through her journey. I remember when she was talking about creating awareness in the preparation protocol, we were talking a lot about what is it for you to obtain the body type or the ideal weight that Lux was looking for. Right? During these conversations, during one of the reflections, especially during one of the Vipassana observations, after coming out of it, Lux mentioned something absolutely beautiful to me. Now, as you can see, the area in our digestive system, which is in our mouth and the nasal area, we know that the fragrance and the taste are only felt through our mouth. Now, this is not me saying, this is something that Lux told me during her therapy. right? So when we look at our mouth and our nasal area, this is the area which can really recognize the taste of the food. But however, because of the dependencies we created, anxieties, depression, or whatever the reasons, sometimes we tend to eat more and more. And when we do that, what we are driven from is that impulse to continue to eat. Since we are not becoming a full observer of our own body, we have forgotten that it doesn't matter how much you put through your mouth, the taste is going to be pretty similar if you're eating the same thing. And then what are we truly trying to satisfy by impulsively or compulsively eating more than what we need? So she all of a sudden realized, when she observed herself, she realized, although I fill my stomach up with a lot of food, truly the taste lasts for a specific period of time in my mouth. And there is really no point of making me feel that taste over and over again, which results in a much bigger problem, which is my weight, which is my health, which is how I look like, all of that. So looks created this awareness not through psychedelics. Way before that, through the developmental neuroscience we are talking about, the reflective practices we are talking about, and the therapeutic approaches that we enable our self-healers with, right? So she understood that. Now, this was already a game changer for her. And then if we further look into this story, then we know inside of our digestive system, there is no taste, right? We don't feel a taste. And if you really truly noticed, of course, we feel a satisfaction when our stomach is full in the right amount. But if it is further full, or if it is excessively full, then we start to feel uncomfortable almost, right? But sometimes our sensations, the dependency or the compulse is so high that we ignore what is happening in our core or our stomach. We continue to feel that taste. So we actually end up eating a lot of things because that we perceive that what goes through our mouth as pleasure, right? So the brain, our mind processes pleasure and pain so that we are inclined to access more and more pleasure depending on what influences it. Right. So now, if we really look at our body, even a little bit more observation towards our body, our digestive system, and actually, we do not directly necessarily digest our food. We, as in you as a unit. It's the bacteria and enzymes that is inside of your the digestive system start truly digesting the food, right? And then after that, our body is able to absorb the energy that comes out of that food, which is digested by the bacteria. So as you know, bacteria is an independent living organism, and many of them inside of our digestive system is the one who actually process our food to begin with. So in other words, we are truly feeding the bacteria in our stomach and then absorbing the energy that is coming out of that process, right? So Lux was creating this awareness through the mindfulness that she created. So through the Vipassana reflections, she starts to observe her body more and more. And at some point, I remember she told me that when I eat, I focus on how my body reacts to my food, or what happens to them in my body. So she was focusing on it so well that she was able to recognize where the food is, that she could feel how the digestive process creates energy in her body, right? This is absolutely possible, self-healers. If you know how much to fast and how to take food intake, and then how to create that reflection for yourself. In other words, the observation for yourself in a mindful setting, you are actually able to recognize what is happening in your body. The more you aware what is happening in your body, the more you become an observer to observing what is happening in the body, the better your preparation is for the psychedelic journeys, because then you already have opened your mind up. In our last conversation, I mentioned to you that awareness is, when awareness is infused with expansion of consciousness, you create actualized awareness. Now, in other words, everything that Lux comprehended in advance before she went into her journey, right? Then it became actualized in her mind, resetting her mind as well as her digestive system in a way that when she comes out of the experience and when she integrates what happened to her, she all of a sudden has this state of being changed. State of being changed. I'm going to explain to you how the state of being is changed. Right. So this is a really interesting thing about the preparation protocol. So if you may remember, during our last conversation, I also mentioned that when you begin a journey through psychedelics healing and mind development, you are truly the self-healer. It is your journey. No one can take control over that. This is also why Luke said, if you have the opportunity to do it, but however, you need to take the full responsibility through the process. It's a conscious process. Creating awareness, observation is a conscious process. So this is why sometimes individuals go into the psychedelic experience or the application ingestion of it, and they come out with no insights. Very straightforward and understood because they did not create any preparation in terms of why they do that experience. Right? So this is the importance of the preparation protocol. Right. So now we understand that there's a lot of things that is happening in our mind. Now, in this situation, we are talking about maybe a specific dependency or maybe a specific lack of anxiety that makes us overeat. However, in our normal capacity, most often, when our mind mirror is overloaded with a lot of things going on there. So when we talk about an individual with anxiety, the eating part is the comforting part. The pleasure part is also in the mind, but the pleasure part is accepted, acknowledged in a positive manner so that the person is kind of covering up the other things that is going on, the reason why they are eating more than expected, right? So that means when our mind mirror is so busy with so many things going on, we are not fully present to what is happening. Now, last week I said whether we like it or not, we have very narrow vision. Do you start to see what happens to the narrow vision now? Oh, how did the narrow vision come to be in first place? Yeah, because there's so much in our mind mirror that we keep bouncing off each other that we are not fully present to what is going on. Now, if you are practicing certain mindfulness approaches and methodologies, you often hear, become fully present to this moment. Oh, we are starting to understand what that means now. In other words, recognizing that in our mind mirror, there's a lot of things going on and being able to silence it and being able to observe ourselves as who we are. Not only even observe as who you are, being able to us observing ourselves. So we have what is going on with us. There's an observer watching what is going on. And then there's a further super observer watching what is going on. The super observer possibility happens the moment you take psychedelics. Right, because it closes your, it reduces the functionalities of your default mode network. So all of a sudden, you have this higher vision to what is happening in your mind mirror, and that's what Luxie is talking about. That she accessed love, that she felt like the entire universe was filled in love, and that she could access it in heart. That she could feel, she was able to fill the gap, or there was no void any longer, because she was for the first time able to quiet all of those, silence all of those things going on in her head, and to look at who she truly is for the first time. So that makes the game change for her. So just to give you a little bit of more practical context to what I'm talking about. Now, when we say, remember in these sessions, we talk about reset your mind, reset you, reset your life, literally. So how is it happening? Let me explain it to you. Let me help you understand. So when we talk about in our mind mirror, when we stop all what is happening, when we bring our awareness to what is going on in our body, when you have psychologically prepared it very well, inside of the psilocybin experience or plant medicine ceremony or the application process, you are able to bring your attention to that specific preparation and then be fully present to it. When that happens, that's when the mind resets, right? That's when our mind resets. Actually, we understand that our entire body, our existence is connected to our mind. So when our mind reset, we reset our body, we reset our digestive system to begin with. For an example, if that is your focus, right? When you focus on your digestive system, several things happen. So unconscious influence is the reset. Your brain all of a sudden understand once again, as if you are a newborn. Luke said exactly that. She said, I felt like a rebirth, right? So your body is kind of reset to that kind of place, like almost like your rebirth, right? So it's almost like those patterns that you had, all those lack we had, anxieties, depressions that we had, they are all reset all of a sudden, so that our body also fall into the right places that it should be in. So that is the unconscious influence. In other words, when Lux comes out of her experience, her body, her mind has been reset, right? So in other words, it's almost like she's given an opportunity to restart her life, reset her life, right? And then what happens? The subconscious influence or unconsciously influenced, and then she start to become subconsciously influenced. Now, subconscious influence comes with intuition, for an example. This is what Luke said earlier. She said when she sit down to eat, or when she has a sensation from her digestive system telling her to eat, she has an intuition. Well, I don't think I need to eat right now. My body does not require food. Whereas earlier she has been compulsively sending food through her tongue and her nasal area so that she can enjoy that feeling, right? But now all of a sudden she has a new awareness. My body doesn't require food right now. Or if she felt like that there's a hunger, right, which is sensation that is coming from her body and that is in her mind mirror, when that happens, she doesn't get because she has created that awareness for herself, she doesn't allow her mind mirror to just uncontrollably bounce off each other. Instead, because she's consciously aware, she has been reset, and there's this subconscious influence where the intuition is telling her how much to eat and when to eat, or even what to eat. She is in control of her mind mirror all of a sudden, right? She's not like, so on a regular basis, when you go through this kind of a deeper experiences, and when you know how to prepare yourself through development to reach your state of Shangri-La, we are not just talking about curing. We are not just only focusing on weight loss. There's a lot more that is happening, right? All of a sudden, her mind mirror is clean and clear, and she knows exactly. And at a time, remember I mentioned awareness, right? Now, this awareness that Fernando is alive right now, Fernando is speaking right now, and I have this beautiful machine in front of me, which we call a computer, right? I'm aware of all of these things. So she is always aware to what is happening in her. So her mind is in the present moment. That present moment is about she's going to have a meal. She's not going to process what she's going to do in the evening. She's not going to process her worries. She's not going to process her anxieties. No, she's going to focus on what is important because she's fully present to her existence, her presence. What a beautiful state of being. So that she's fully present to what she's eating. She eats mindfully. Every bite that she takes from her food, she pays attention to it. She goes, this is nutrition. And this is a beautiful gift from this universe that I have been able to receive, right? She's grateful for what she's eating. She's grateful for having a body. She's grateful for being able to feel that taste, because why? She accessed love. She learned that the food that she accessed is love, keeping her body in an optimum way that she can function in her best state of being, right? So she's fully aware to that moment. There's nothing else in her mind. Appreciating, recognizing the love outside of our body, inside of our body, the digestive system, everything, right? So she's subconsciously influenced, which means that he can now consciously influence herself, her behavior, not just only this moment, but for the rest of her life, because the clarity that she has. So when a friend says, let's go out, let's get drunk, I believe Lux would say, well, let's go out, but drunk, I'm not sure. I can have a glass of champagne to celebrate, but I know that's the amount I really need. Or she might go there and she might pick up the glass of champagne and say, I do not need this right now. And she might leave it back. And I actually have seen her doing that several times, refusing food in a very healthy way because she actually did not need, right? So this is how, when we reset our mind using altered states of consciousness, which allows us to truly become present to what we prepared for during that application experience, right? Psychedelic application experience opens your mind in such a way and reset yourself, including your organs, including your systems, in a way that when you come out of it, you already have an actualized awareness. Because see, awareness is not enough. You know that many people who are addicted to nicotine, right, smokers, or alcohol, right, they remission to normal in one session. Why? Because they reset themselves. There was a dependency on it because there was a lack. But when you prepared properly, when you went into the experience, all of a sudden you open yourself up in such a way that you realize this was a dependency. This wasn't necessary. Now, the interesting thing here is that sometimes it just happens unconsciously. You don't even have to really process it. If you prepared your mind, if you went through the experience, you come out of it, and like a miracle, all of a sudden you realize, oh, I no longer need alcohol, and I can vouch for this. Remember in the previous session, I told you that some years ago, every night I needed something little bit to drink in the evening, which went up to a half a bottle sometimes, just to get to sleep, right? But when I went through the psychedelic experience, because I prepared myself to look into myself, why am I? Why do I need a glass of something every evening? And when I went in, I realized that these are stories I tell myself. It's not a realization. It's like it shows up in magnificence in a way that when my mind is open, that it creates value for me immediately. And when I come out, I do not have those things that the story is already gone. I remember the story, but it doesn't create an impact anymore in me because the system has reset me. So obviously, when we go through this process, we are able to reset ourselves. It's not just only resetting our mind, but we can literally focus on resetting a specific part of our body or system or a behavior or an emotion or a specific relationship or anything like that, actually. And now I told you, you go into it, and unconsciously, some of your bones are realigned, mental muscles are realigned, your system is realigned, and then you come back and you realize, oh, it has happened already. So there you are. And that's why we call psilocybin magic mushrooms. It's magical. That's why the psychedelic plant medicine is considered as sacred, mystical, ego death, mystical experience, right? All of that happens in a space where we actually reset ourselves. So that's the story that I would like to share with you today. Now, as the end of this conversation, I would love to hear from Lux at the end. Since we have a few more minutes, I would love to quickly do a little reflection. And then I invite all of you to share a little bit of your key takeaway from this conversation. And from Lux, I look forward to hearing enhanced thoughts as we base this entire conversation. All right. Okay, so let's get started. This little reflection. So if you would like to close your eyes, feel free to do that. Or if you want to keep your eyes open and join me, do that, no problem. So today we are talking about, is transcendent love really possible? I invite you to think about the moment you were born. Let's go back. When you were born, you had starting to understand that, oh, I have hands, I have a head, I have a body, right? And then we touch ourselves somewhere, catch ourselves somewhere, and then we had this pain, feeling the pain. And then remember, during our conversations, we talk about when we experience the pain, it triggers fear. The fear is necessary so that we can process pain, so that we can optimally live. Hunger, for an example. So if you really look into hunger, we feel hungry. Have you deeply observed your hunger ever? If you did, you might realize actually hunger is a bit of fear. Hunger is a bit of fear. Where does this fear come from? Our body, our systems are afraid that in case if we didn't have enough food in time, we may not be able to optimally continue to exist. So it creates a little bit of fear in us so that we look for hunger. And that is why the frustration created, because there's a connotation of fear in it. That's why sometimes we easily get angry when we are hungry. The reason is there's a little bit of fear influencing us to find food as soon as possible. So you see, the fear is a driver for love. Why love? Because when we are able to function optimally, we are able to maintain this emotion at this level, at this optimum level. We are able to procreate. We are able to co-create. We are able to survive in this environment in the optimum way of living, right? That is love. So if we really come to think of it, then when we talk about unconditional love, transcendent love, we often look outwardly and we ask, can someone love someone unconditionally? Can someone love someone transcendently? Do I know the answer? I don't know. But can you love yourself transcendently? Can you love yourself unconditionally? So I invite you to a space of observation. I invite you to observe who you truly are. I invite you to a space to ruminate, reflect on how does our body work? And why does our body work in that way? Always to bring ourselves to the optimum self, for us to experience love. So I invite you to go deep within you when you have a moment and then observe that unconditional love that is potential within us. And interestingly, I was telling that observation is one of the key pointers in terms of our development. So when the hunger kicks in, you realize it and you decide not to be driven by fear, that little connotation in the hunger, you say, right, I'm going to observe my hunger. I'm not going to die. Consciously, I know that although my body is a little bit worried right now, that's okay. I will observe myself, right? And then we find a place that feels comfortable for you in a nice upright position. And then you start observing your hunger. You pay attention to your digestive system and you see, where is the sensation coming from? What kind of sensation is that? What is this sensation is telling you? And the more you become mindful of yourself on simple things that happen to us like this, I believe the more love you will be able to access, because it becomes apparent to us. It's right in front of us. And the amount of love that Lux is talking about, being able to access the amount of love, unconditional, transcendent love. I think, what if I told you that it is possible to get to a place that when you talk about love, you become emotional every time. Every time. Why? Because you can process so much love. Think about it like this. When a child is born in the immediate family, when you held that little baby in your hands for the first time, how did you feel? Did you cry? When someone in your family, immediate family, died, how did you feel? Did you cry? Why is that? Because there's so much love in that situation. So what if you are able to feel that kind of love on a regular basis. Or if you could feel that kind of love every morning when you wake up. What if you could feel that kind of love when you are sharing this information or when you're about to sleep? And to me, that is the Shangri-La that I want to be at. Feeling so much intense love in my body that I can contain inside of my body, because it's so much more powerful than me. And fearlessly experience love. Experience love for yourself. Experience love for people around you. Experience that love for the food you eat. A cow, an insect, grass, the sunshine, the clouds, that you can love, that you experience so much love in your heart. This happens as a result of your own observation of who you truly are. So I invite you to a space of observing and seeking transcendent love, and the invitation is to see if it is possible for you to find it. Right. So with that, I invite all of you back to this room, and thank you for sharing this moment with me. I find it quite powerful and very humbled in your presence today. Right. So may I invite all of you to share a little bit of insight. What are you walking away with from this conversation today? Thank you. Lux, you want to go?
Yes, I want to say, Fernando, I want to take this opportunity to thank you as my therapist for everything, for the preparations, ceremonies, and integrations. I was reflecting, when you go on an extraordinary journey, you also need an extraordinary preparation. So, and setting. And so thank you for providing that to me, and also enabling that possibility for me to see that it is so pleasurable and enjoyable to spend time in my own mind garden, and I can sing and dance around it, and I can wake up in the morning and I can just decide to be there. So, and I hope that healing for anyone and everyone. Lots of love. And thank you for this wonderful session.
I'll share. I'd love to share. Yeah. I'm having, we always say, like, it's all connected. It's all connected. It's we hear people say that very often, and we sometimes go through life looking at things as these like separate feelings, separate ideas, separate people, separate places, but really, truly, it really is all connected, actually. And what I'm feeling right now is this insane amount of appreciation and love for all the things around. I mean, Fernando, when you were just guiding us through that reflection of love the mosquito, love the ants, love the grass, I think we are so amazing. Like, our minds and our abilities are so amazing that we can have the capacity to love something as small as a blade of grass. I know I walk out of my house every day and I look around and I see so much little tiny bits of beauty here and there, be it the crack on the ground that looks like something else, or the 3 different shades of colors in the sky, and that pass you by within seconds. Every single thing can be appreciated and loved, and that love that you give, it's always going to be bounced back to you. It's always going to be reflected back to you. There's no cap on how much you can love. Like, it's endless. It really can be endless. The more you give, the more you get. So that's my takeaway for today. Thank you. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be sharing this journey in this space with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Shafia and Ankush, would you like to share your key takeaway from this conversation today or the storytelling today?
Yeah. May I go first? Yeah. First of all, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, Luke. It was really heart-touching. Like, yeah, like could relate to so much of what you've gone through, and like just seeing you in a human light just makes it so much more, special, your journey. Um, and thank you, Fernando. The last bit about love, about self-love, it was just like, the icing on the cake. Because I think it made at the beginning, okay, at the beginning when you asked me what are you looking for? So I was like, I had this silhouette of a figure that I think I want to be like that, like no attachments, and like it's a higher being. I think I have a clarity of why that being is like that image is a higher being to me because of the amount of love that that person can give to himself. I grew up in a country or in a society where it was like a horse race from the moment I was born, and love came very conditional. Like, you achieve one thing, you get praise, you get love. You don't, yeah, people won't talk to you. So my wiring in my head became such that like I can love other people, but to me, if I cannot, uh, I just hold myself to very high standards, achieving achievements, or yeah, like, even in day-to-day stuff, if I'm doing something, if it's not up to certain level, like I cannot show that appreciation for myself. But yeah, my key takeaway from this conversation is that, I am enough. I'm doing enough. Yeah, people love me, and there's a reason for a reason for that, and I need to see that more often. So thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ankush.
Hi. Yeah, I want to say thanks, Lux, for sharing your. So, I mean, it's something that's like very close to you. So I really appreciate you being so open and vulnerable in your. And I mean, I have heard uh people share before about psychedelic experiences as well. And um I mean, what you shared also kind of uh is like corroborates what I have heard so far. Like I've heard of people who from having very long standing depression like take go on a psychedelic experience, and then it's like they're healed, and it's like healed from the inside. Like it's like a it seems to be like an inside out kind of change. And I mean, I can see you, like you definitely look like very peaceful, like you have an inner peace and inner joy. Yeah, so yeah, I appreciate your sharing. And yeah, I think like what Ankush shared earlier, I think we probably came from quite similar kind of Asian parent backgrounds. So there definitely is some kind of difficulty in terms of giving ourselves unconditional love, I think, and like being kind and compassionate to ourselves. And it's quite funny because like the way we speak to other people or the way we speak to our children is so different from how we speak to ourselves, I think. Yeah, and I've been hearing this word love a lot lately, like it's been featuring in my life a lot. So I mean, I just think it's something that's quite significant. yeah, so I'm just glad to have heard all of this today.
Thank you, Shafia. When you said that the love in your life has been featuring, I would like to say how I would like to say it. We are only love. You are only love. And love is the only thing that features, and everything else is a driver of love, I would say, in my personal opinion, though. And then I would like to touch base on what both of you said, the love being transactional. Not just only love, everything in this universe nowadays is transactional, right? If you give me that, I'll give you this. That's the way we look at it. So when we just come to think of it, if I bring your mind back to the mind mirror, the moment you approach love as a transaction, that is what is going on in your head. So there is no really space to embrace the love fully, because we have a transaction that needs to complete, and if you give, I give. So it's a transactional feeling that we are creating, right? So I want to say that the reason why that one could access so much love in the moment is because, number one, if you have found out that you're only love, so this awareness that we were talking about, that this specific awareness that we are capable of right now becomes an existence of love, right? And then your mind mirror is empty. There's nothing going on in there, so that you can be fully present to love. So when you can be fully present to love in your mind mirror, all it exudes out to your body, to your brain, to your emotions, to your systems, to your genetics, to a molecular level. What it transpires is love. Can you imagine, like what Shafia said, as an inside-out journey, if we are able to transpire love, right? Ignite love in ourselves at a very deep level, you truly become love, and then you are able to experience love so deeply, and then also express love so deeply. So I invite you to reflect on these thoughts further. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor. And thank you for sharing this vulnerable space with us. And those who are joining us online, feel free to share what you think in the comment section. We look forward to hear your stories about psychedelics. We look forward to hear insights, what you created during this experience. This is a subject that not many of us are very open to publicly discuss. One of the emails I received said that thanked us for fiercely sharing, so that we have received a confirmation. And I invite you to become fierce, because this is a way of healing. This is one way of becoming your Shangri-La state of mind. With that, I would like to share with you love and light, and look forward to seeing you in the next session. Fire Circle 3, we will be hearing Jess's story. Since we are the first generation of practitioners, we would love to share our story with you, so that you know it comes from a place of inspiration, because we walk the talk. We changed ourselves before we decided to provide that guidance to other people. So with love and light, I will see you next week. Thank you, Lux. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Shafia and Ankush. Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. See you next time.